Okay, we got it.
So you are a host now.
Okay, thank you very much. So what we are going to do today is on last time in Unit 1, in terms of theory and methodology, we looked at diasporas and migration. What happened? Just a sec. Okay, wonderful. Are you able to see my presentation and hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So last time in Unit 1, we had talked about theories relating to migration and diaspora. And in Unit 2, we are going to be talking about transnationalism and globalization. In fact, we have been over the various units, we have been talking various things about transnationalism and globalization. And one of the but here we will talk a little bit about theories. And I thought I will start with an example of globalization. I came across this meme called the Moi Moi meme, and I saw these are very cringe-worthy memes, and I was seeing it move on, the Instagram reels, and I was not sure. I didn't spend too much of time to figure out what it was, though I saw it was cringe-worthy. Till this time, I actually started researching as to where did it come from? What is this Moi Moi? Why is everybody going crazy on this Moi Moi meme? So it originated in 2023 in India. There was a Serbian song by songwriter Teja Dora. In fact, you can search it on your own on YouTube. And the song lyrics contains something called Moje More in Serbian, which means my nightmares. So the same song, and that's how things move today across the world in terms of cultures, in terms of ideas, in terms of economy, in terms of politics, which gives you a sense of how the world is connected today. The world has always been connected over a large period of time. However, this hyper connection is something new which has happened over the last 2 decades or something. Uh, Never expected a professor to utter the words boy. Aisha, at the end of the day, remember, everything is a learning, everything is a thing to look at. In fact, in a lot of media classes, when we are talking about culture, I show them, TikToks, and I say, see what is happening on TikToks, what is happening on Instagram Reels, how culture is moving, how LGBTQ people are using this as an empowerment. So social media becomes a great platform for empowerment in terms of politics, in terms of communication, in terms of sharing of ideas. And that's why yeah, of course. We don't use TikTok because of so many reasons, but a whole lot of, if you need to get an idea about what's happening, these platforms are a great way to understand how the teenagers or the Gen Zs or the diaspora are interacting, because inevitably everybody is
So
posting.
personally, I would rather not know what's happening with the Gen Z people and all of them.
Perfectly fine. That's your lookout, Aisha. But again, as I said, all these are treasure troves in terms of information, especially if you're doing research. So, for example, when I
Yeah,
was
correct.
when I was doing my PhD and I was doing it on a particular community, I was looking at what they were doing on social media to get a sense of how they were using social media. But nevertheless, let's move ahead. Again, as I said, these are personal things one can look at. Objectives become familiar with we have already become familiar. So let's look at, some theory part of it. Impact every aspect of global system, and especially, yes, absolutely. Aisha, you're absolutely right. In fact, today, globalization and transnationalism is affecting the way diasporas look at homeland and hostland, and also interact with homeland and hostland. These two systems related terms, which are often used synonymously, have several points of divergence. So while transnationalism denotes transcending the strict distinction, uh, Rajni, I think it is live streamed. Rajni, it's being live streamed. That's how it starts. The class starts by first live streaming and then making me the host. So there's a process in it. So while transnationalism talks about transcending strict distinction of national boundaries, implies development of increasingly integrated global order, all this we have done over the last units. Both the processes, however, espouse for free information. If you look at the basis of internet, the basis of internet also was a sharing of knowledge and ideas. Over a period of time, there are other, things which have come on. There's been a lot of distortion of, the internet or the social media, but the basic idea of free flow of ideas, considering the fact that obviously, the world and the people are very identical, ideas and people complement each other. So transnationalism as an idea was initiated by American scholars like Randolph Bourne during World War One. Now, again, you need to understand how terms came into currency, and there is a certain amount of political, political heft to terms. So he supported the idea of American cosmopolitanism rather than assimilation. And that's why I always, most of the time, I start with definitions and also tell you that whenever you come across a term or somebody explains you a concept, you do need to find out who has given the definition or who has given the concept. Because remember, based on the point of view or perspective, the definitions and concepts can also change. So when Safran, started, defining diaspora, he was influenced by the Jewish diaspora. And then subsequent authors then looked at it in a different way. So it's very important. And that's what I keep telling you about academics. There's nothing right, wrong, true, false. These are perspectives, and you have to define where this perspective is coming from. Gave rise to a debate relating to transnational connection of people who carry their cultures at the time of migration. We used to use the term cosmopolitan. Bangalore is a cosmopolitan city. Delhi is a cosmopolitan city. Cosmopolitan actually is a Greek word, I think, meaning the people of the world. So inevitably, when multiple people with diverse cultures come together, we talk about cosmopolitanism. And if you see, World War One was 1914, 18, 14, 18. Okay. So all these ideas started a long time back. In the present, it's become fashionable and widely used term, especially transnationalism has become a fashionable and widely used term, especially when referring to economic and international organization, terrorism, and diaspora. Look at the diversity with which transnationalism is used. Is closely linked to the forces of globalization. And all this happened because of modern communication technology, easy and affordable transportation, demographic imbalances, and acceptance of growing diversity and multiple identities around the world. Think about the fact that if the liberal democracies did not accept or create hurdles into migration, we would not be talking about transnationalism. So there is an acceptance of a growing diversity. For example, I was reading yesterday only, Greece has, signed a law accepting same-sex marriages. The other day, I was reading Nepal doing that. Now, a few years back, that would have been, unheard of things. But things are changing across the world because obviously migration continues, cultures intermingle. Transnational relations are maintained and sustained through web of social networks which circulate knowledge, skills, intelligence across borders. So, how a Serbian song, who picked up the Serbian song? How did it come on the Indian shores? Obviously, if you try and trace out, you would see that to go through multiple transactions. There is quite a possibility that some Indian or somebody somewhere looked at that and then how it came, how it became popular. So, in fact, these short video platforms are a great way of circulation of culture nowadays. The increased transnational connections between societies, cultures, people across the world have impacted economic, social, and political fields. And obviously, when information is traveling so fast across, the world with divergent communities, it would definitely have an impact. The transnational perspectives helps in understanding different global issues, starting from politics, criminal activities, social, economic to cultural ones. So when there is this connectivity and information is being shared, obviously it will be impacting. Now, if you, so there are divergent viewpoints. There is the viewpoint which says that this is impacting, local cultures. But there are reasons to prove the fact that actually the local cultures are also going out. If the foreign cultures are impacting the local cultures are impacting the foreign cultures. How it works out is something of a research material. According to Alvaro Lima, it's a phenomena only made possible by advances in transportation and communication technology over. This is just a 2 decade old thing which was unavailable to previous generation of migration. So if I don't know if all of you were there during a lot of earlier units. In one of the units, we had given an example of these girls from Kerala who went to Germany as nurses, as caregivers. And obviously, there was no, the transportation they used was a ship or some went in a plane. It took a long time and there was no way to communicate back. They had to write letters, which would take a long time. A lot of these girls lost their parents while they were in Germany. They got to find out later. But today, you are doing FaceTiming, you are doing WhatsApp video calls, you're doing WhatsApp audio calls 24 by 7 instantly. So you are actually never leaving a homeland in a particular way. You are a part of the homeland and yet you are somewhere away. So we know transnationalism is two ways from above, like supranational political and economic bodies like EU, WHO, Monetary Fund, and transnational from below, which involves migration and migrant experiences. So transnationalism can be from above, it can be from below, forging and sustaining familial, economic, cultural, political ties and identities that cross national boundaries. Obviously, everybody is being connected to everybody else. Nye and Kihone argue that transnationalism affect diverse area of international governance. Obviously, now when information is freely flowing, anything or everything becomes a big thing, including interstate politics, foreign policy, social values, cultural constructs, national and international security, and international organization. So there is a farmer agitation which is happening in India. There are diasporas which are directly or indirectly connected with it. People have taken positions. People, when you if you look at from a security lens, people are talking it from a security lens. People are talking from an economic lens. People are talking from a cultural lens. Everybody seems to be talking and is interested to be a part of it. Appadurai puts transnationalism in the terms of translocality. Feels translocality presents the idea that nation state has been displaced as the exclusive mediator of connectivity across and between disparate political communities. And that is where somewhere down the line, the state is still coming to grips with it. So now there are multiple actors. It's not that the state has lost its power or eminence. In fact, one set of arguments states that states have lost their power. No, the state still seems to have a lot of power. When you need a passport, you need a visa, you need a state. For example, I was seeing this particular information. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but in Myanmar, the military junta has said that there is going to be military conscription, and they are allowing people to leave before they bring in that law. And there was this huge line outside the Thai embassy. Now, this information is coming to me in India. It goes to diaspora. Diasporas influence other actors. So today there are multiple actors at play. And that is what has changed. So if when you start looking at things from a security point of view, in fact, the other day I was talking to a group of people who were talking about social media and national security. And, I was thinking in my head that actually the difference between a nation and a state they are two different things. So, it's not actually national security, it's state security. But how people are understanding, negotiating with this new set of conditions, a whole lot of new actors which have come in. Despite transnational practices, state continue to remain the focal point of international order. Inevitably, one of the identities that you carry and relate to is the national identity. But there are more than the only actor. Transnational connectivity operates through modern technologies, and cyberspace has made transnational space permeate to the local level, generating transnational practices. So a person, let's say, who goes out from a village in UP, from a particular caste, and goes to a different country, is able to maintain that connections directly to that village and to that particular caste group. And we had seen how these kind of networks are also the reason why more migration then happens. One of the ways. Eh, Transnational connections strengthen rather than erase local identification and systems. So it works both ways. So, for example, now different cultures enter the local at the same time. Transnational connections strengthen the local identification and systems because you are continuously connected with the local. It does not prevent the integration of immigrants into the host society. And remember, that is because of the fact, as we have studied in multiple units, we work with multiple identities and we pick up an identity based on what gives us advantage. Studies have found that better the immigrant is integrated educationally and professionally, the more likely he or she is to engage in transnational activity, which is a fact that we see locally also. People who migrate internally, the ones who are more, integrated in a new place, are the ones who are going to be more engaged in political and other activities. So, and we had already seen in a couple of earlier units where we talked about as the economics in a country increase or becomes better, the migration rather than stopping increases. So that's how, these things affect. So let's look at types of transnationalism. Scholars such as Portes and Badge and Sasson have acknowledged that a global perspective must include social, cultural, and political dimensions of migrant, and they are separate or they work concurrently. While the social anthropologist treats transnationalism as a social phenomena, economic treats as economic phenomena, political scientists treats as a political phenomena. However, they all work parallelly. Anderson spoke about transnational political conscience among diaspora and exile group as a form of long distance nationalism. And you will see a whole lot of Indians and Americans having an opinion about just about everything which is happening in India, the local politics, why or what. And, a lot of times I hear people in India keep talking about the fact, if you have an opinion, why don't you come back? But that's not the way it is. It is that today the connectivity is there, the transnationalism is there. They are, irrespective of the fact they might be a second generation Indian, they are still locally connected. Today's human mobility cannot be viewed as the rupture between here and there as social relations continue over spaces. This is what has changed over the last 2 decades. Earlier, it was here or there, but now it is a continuum. There is no here and there. While the proponents of global capitalism believe transnationalism is happening from above and has increased relevance of growth of capitalist globalization, opponents believe in breaking national boundaries to unite workers. So it works both ways. So while, for example, the internet media is helpful or the digital media is helpful in surveillance, it also democratizes voices. And as I keep telling you, and I've told you multiple times, these are concepts which work parallelly, and there is negotiation going on. So while people through science have understood the world and the nature and the universe better, at the same time, all the answers cannot come through science, and yet people go into faith, and that's why religion is also proliferating. Researchers have also drawn attention to clandestine and criminal networks as well as terrorists as an example of wider form of transnationalism because radicalization, fundamentalism, going after you can now reach about anybody in the world. So let's look at globalization. And again, as I said, both of them operate parallelly. They are slightly different, but they operate parallelly. Webster defines globalization, development of an increasing integrated global economy, marked especially by free trade. Inevitably, globalization has an economic indicator or a slant to it. Free flow of capital, tapping of cheaper foreign labor implies that global subordinates the local and the national. So, larger understand the larger discourse is globalization subordinates the local and the national. But we'll also see that there is the local and the national also reaches out to be the global. So, for example, Amazon as an American company is selling products in India, but it also allows the small seller in class B, C cities to be able to sell their products. So the local also becomes global. Hang on. Okay, so the most widely used definition of globalization is that of Held and McGrew, who define globalization as the widening, intensifying, speeding up, and growing impact of worldwide interconnectedness. And if you look at this definition, impact can be any which way. So while foreign cultures are also rapidly coming in terms of songs, in terms of food, in terms of practices. At the same time, the local is also speedily moving out. Globalization has been a buzzword for 3 decades, no consensus on when the process started. Different scholars give different starting points. Started after 1919, the aftermath, end of global war, as before the world was deglobalized. So again, which scholar is putting his or her point of view defines how it works. So in history, there are 3 points. First, the integration of Asia. So I was actually trying to, do some study on this integration of Asia around 1000 AD. I think this has to do with this bigger, kingdoms and, conquerors who came between 800 to 1000 plus AD, which kind of integrated Asia. Previously, there were a lot of splits. So I think that's what it means. Second, around 1500 AD, which we all know, the European maritime adventure started. And thirdly, the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution was this great unifier which wanted, raw products from outside, sending finished products, back. According to Frank, there was a single global world economy with a worldwide division of labor and multilateral trade from 1500 onwards. While Jerry Bentley argues that even before 1500, trade networks reached almost all regions. Remember, we used to study about the Chinese traveler Huan Sang, who came much earlier. They were far ahead. There were so many travelers. So effectively, these travelers were going. Obviously, the traders were also moving. Trade networks reach all regions of Eurasia, and that how we came to come to find out is even in the earliest civilization, you will see there is, you will see some artifacts which are very similar to each other. So obviously there has to be some trade, though those trade and movement was not as fast as they are today. Another scholar who believed in globalization being an old phenomenon was Wallerstein. He believed that it was the 16th century. There came to be a European world economy based upon the capitalist mode of production. Capitalism, again, is an old word, old way of mode of production. Several parts of world, India, Russia, Ottoman Empire, and West Asia, only became incorporated in the world economy somewhere between 1750 and 1850. These were the time when the European colonization was happening. Remember, at that particular time, India was, a big global, in terms of per capita income or GNP, was a big country, which attracted a whole lot of these European countries to come and trade with India, as the trade in luxury goods, which has linked this region to the core, was replaced by trade in bulk goods. So that's how Wallerstein believed, or came about, or had an opinion. Friedman divides history of globalization into three periods. One dates from 1492 to 1800, second 1800 to 2000, and third from 2000 to present. And if you notice, even in this, we are talking about what? 1500, 500 years? Not too much. And obviously, as the European maritime powers were there, the colonization was happening, followed by the Industrial Revolution. Obviously, the connectedness was, the globalization and the connectedness was increasing. Okay, theories on globalization: three types of positions: hyperglobalists, skeptics, and transformationists. Hyperglobalists, those who strong supporters of globalization, find globalization an historic set of economic, cultural, and political changes, and intensified after 80s. These are the hyperglobalists. They believe that the major impact has been made by the advancements in information and communication due to digital revolution. These are what we call the technology determinist, who believe that everything was because of the technology, which has helped in creating global economy. Hyperglobalists believe nation states have become less important and the present situation is of a borderless world. So that's the set of people who believe this particular thing. Again, as I said, all these various systems, there is the actual truth is somewhere in between all of them. So then there are the skeptics who feel globalization is a daydream and concept of integrated world economy doesn't exist. Hurst and Thompson believe that still a lot of trade happens inside the country. Cross-border trade is not a new phenomena. Uh, and the idea of globalization has been advocated by many for the advancement of market-oriented economic aims. So inevitably, they feel that's why they are called the skeptics. And then there is the third, who believe that major changes have surely taken place at global level, but at the same time, old and established traditional features have not withered away. Inevitably, one needs to understand the fact that the new always sits on the old. The new does not, there is no revolutionary new. Inevitably, every time there is something new, the harbingers of the new is the old. Then, based on different traditions of realism, liberalism, and critical theory, one can explain globalization. Realists believe that globalization is the creation of dominant status for the underdeveloped or developing states to further their dominance. The states have become more dominant with an increase in surveillance and regulation. So that's what the realism. So you will have a whole lot of scholars who say that the only thing which has happened because of globalization is more surveillance. Liberals hold positive views. Economic globalization has led to maximized utilization of resources, productivity, which has increased competition, making everybody profitable. Has believed that they have brought political, social, and cultural benefits, bringing ideas and information from all over the globe. So if you notice, this particular agricultural or Kisan protest, which is happening in India, the last few months, we have seen major protest happening in Germany, in France. Now, you can also argue the fact that all these protests across the world influence various other protests at other places in the world. There is a lot of information and ideas which get shared. Critical theories adopt an oppositional behavior towards globalization, has created a hierarchical order with huge disparity between rich and poor and among countries. A sense of globalization is triumph of global capitalist order. Critical theorists also believe the fact that the world has faced significant change and the shift has reduced the power of states. Whole process is to remove hindrances for capitalism. So, when you look at the world order, or if you look at the Indian order, a lot of times you see that there is a privatization, which some argue is capitalism marching on and reduction of welfareism. So all kinds of arguments are circulated around. And then the feminist theory link globalization to increase gender equalities. So obviously, if there is a gender equality, and with gender equality, now women are also moving, which leads to feminization of migration. Previously,
Sir,
this was not to the case.
sir, I think it's gender inequalities in PPT.
To increasing gender inequality. Yeah. Did I say equality?
Yes, sir, I think
Okay.
so.
Apologies. Apologies. Increasing gender inequalities.
But, sir, it can also be argued that globalization has led to an increase in gender equality because, we were talking about the liberal ideas from, say, Western countries and, things like that.
Absolutely. See, again, as I said, there are multiple theorists and scholars, each arguing from their point of view. So we are not trying to determine what is right or wrong, but we are, yeah, as a part of the unit and as a part of the course, we are trying to say that there are multiple perspectives to the whole thing. There's nothing, definite about this or that. So some people might bring out examples to show that the gender equality has increased, whereas some people will say, no, gender inequality has increased. Aisha?
Correct, yeah.
So again, this is again how when you are doing academic work, as I keep telling you, you pick up a point of view and then argue with that point of view, giving examples. Yeah. Okay. Three main types of globalization. There is economic globalization, process in which national economies, for a large extent, or small, have been absorbed into the world economy. Development of transnational economic structure. The present phenomena is so complex that the world has got economically intertwined in a single entity, making world borderless. And part of it we can see because anything which affects one area of the world impacts other areas. So when in 2008 there was a recession which was happening in the West, a lot of countries across the world were affected. Thankfully, a lot of scholars say that it was because of economists at the helm India got insulated. But again, you have to understand the fact that India has slowly been integrated in the world economy. Uh, the major force behind increment in global interconnected is international trade, has led to transnational mode of production, movement of labor from one country to another, and the creation of global finance system. So today, for example, you can move money from between nations. You can move back and forth, and obviously, there is. Yes, absolutely, Aisha. Even now, when you look at the Red Sea issue, you're right. Everything is impacting everything else. Hang on. Okay, cultural globalization, advancement in information, again, because of information communication technology, information, commodity, or image produced anywhere in the world get it to a global level. So anything which, for example, the farmers are protesting in Germany, they come carrying their tractors into the city, into the capital, then obviously these images, when beamed, the Indian farmers look at this and say, why can't we, based on various grievances, help in diffusing cultural differences between individual and regions. What happens in families where parents get threatened, children are now coming with new ideas, why can't we do this, and then there is this political fight which happens, or negotiation which happens. It can create both homogenization of culture and also polarize the diversity. It again depends how you look at it. It works both ways. Hang on. Uh, Hang on, sorry. And then there is the political globalization needs a political backup. Obviously, economic always needs a political backup. Susan Strange, where states were once masters of the market, now market, which look at the fact that today Facebook determines what people should see across the world or not. There are over 2 billion people on Facebook. Twitter determines who should, whose voice should be brought out or whose voice should be suppressed. Facebook is as big a nation as any other nation, and it's got tremendous power. And then Facebook combined with Instagram and WhatsApp is huge. Political globalization has significantly affected the power and significance of the case. It both increases chances for the state as well as reduces. So it works both ways. As I said, all these things work both ways. Globalization has been seen as promoting privatization, rolling back of welfare provisions, and various such policies. Countries are learning from each other. Bureaucracies are learning from each other. Countries are designing their policies to attract more and more foreign direct investment. Wages are being kept low. Transnational corporations are also finding more importance. Look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a transnational czar. He has more land than a lot of farmers in America or other place. And they are determining policies. So globalization and a sovereignty crisis, far-reaching changes brought about by increasing technology since World War II, resulting in decreasing in communication time, distance, and cost, shift in ideological political matrix. Think of the fact that even in the Israeli Palestinian or Hamas or Gaza conflict, there is a strong public opinion against the war. And yet Europe or European Union or US is backing the war. So there is an industrial military complex which is at play. The abrupt departure of Cold War and the rise of neoliberal dominant rhetoric, global order economic fabric is moving away from primary international transaction between nations and governments and towards transnational activity among businesses. As I said today, Mark Zuckerberg has the biggest amount of political capital, economic capital. Look at the Facebook or Meta can influence so many political and other movements. What typically earlier this power used to be with states like America or Russia. Today, Facebook has a lot of power. Globalization places more importance on global vis-a-vis national and local and might lead to delocalization, denationalization, and aculturalization, transnationalism on the other hand, instead of subordinating the local and the national, transnationalizes them and thus in a way strengthen them. Both movements are happening parallelly. So not only the global becomes local, the local becomes global. Transnationalism has challenged the homogenization and has led to repositioning of states, encourages heterogeneity, discourage homogeneity. At the same time, it encourages homogeneity and discourages heterogeneity. The globe is no longer a place of distinct different cultures, and the transnational spaces have connected all to each other. Challenges the core periphery model of the word system theory by giving a heterogeneous character to the globe. And yet, at the same time, so again, a very interesting thing, a nation of migrants is wanting to stop migrants from coming in. That's the story of transnationalism and globalization, the US. A nation of migrants is talking about stopping migrants. Taking advantage of technological advances, Castells explains in his network theory, it is a society whose social structures is made up of networks powered by microelectronics based information and communication technology. So these networks are functioning and the network is always more powerful, or the network logic is more powerful than individual logic. Facilitate the fast moving of capital, people, which are indicators of globalization. Things like dual citizenship, OCI, transnational cooperation, transnational criminal activities, news coverage of mobility, among many. So Castles talks about this network society theory, summing up, have been used interchangeably. Two different terms complement each other, emphasizes on global against the national, strengthens the local. Both the processes have transformed several concepts. Okay, and then of course there are ref. Where did the references go? I picked up some references. Okay, there is suggested reading, some of them in your course material. Let's ask any questions. Hang on, let me see if I can switch off my, I can switch off my, okay, hi. Sorry. So as I was telling you, both the concepts work simultaneously, and every time you feel that this is to the detriment of a particular thing, there is something else which happens. Today, because of this global connectivity, both in communication and in travel, uh, things work in multiple ways. So before reducing an argument to saying that this is only the way it works, one has to stop and find out how it is working. So it works in multiple ways. Any question, guys?
Good afternoon.
Hi, Swadesh. How are you?
I'm fine. You said that economic slowdown, recession,
Hmm,
and wartime moments. These situations affect to migrant workers also.
absolutely.
Earlier, it's COVID-19. Many migrants they lose their wages. It's globally affected
Correct.
because of that. Yeah, sir.
See,
And economic
that is the
slowdown.
Swadesh, you're absolutely right. In fact, last time also we were talking, and that is the reason
Yeah,
why policymakers and planners and governments and bureaucracy needs to look at a thing from multiple angles. So when you do, unfortunately, what has happened is also the fact is when you look at things, more often than not, most of us are limited by our knowledge and our physical understanding of things. And that is why actually today with internet, one can find out more perspectives.
Yes, yeah.
And still the planners and the bureaucracy is not using that collective knowledge very effectively.
Yes, sir.
So that is leading to, some amount of chaoses, because you're absolutely right. Everything is going to affect everything else.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Swadesh. And that is why,
Yes.
for example, for this migrant workers, that is why the networks need to be created parallelly. Lobbying needs to be done. Things have to be brought out. And again, there will be problems.
Yes, sir. It's a globally, sir, that one. Not only India affected in this
Absolutely,
area
absolutely,
situation. Yeah,
absolutely,
many countries are affected
absolutely,
by the COVID and slow down economically, some
absolutely.
recession. I think inflation also, sir.
Now we are listening to some recession which is starting to happen. There is some recession happening in China. How does this impact? So that is the reason why researchers, academicians need to continuously look at how things work, because if you're going to be looking it from a few perspectives, you do not know how it's going to be impacting, and especially now with transnationalism and diaspora being actively engaged. How does it work? So it can go any which way. Any other question? We have too many specialists, but we require multidisciplinary. Absolutely, Kangat. Because of all these globalization and transnationalism, the policy or the decision making has become more complex, because how where things come. So you need an interdisciplinary approach. You need subject experts on specific areas, and there needs to be a larger debate. We still are shying away from talking things out. It's like a family. Does the child, when he or she goes out, he or she will pick up alien cultures, alien words? Are we talking about it? Are we explaining? We still seem to be working on do's and don'ts rather than negotiating or engaging. And that's where somewhere down the line the media's role come in, because media is a great platform to inform and educate. But we are not having those perspectives come in. We are having a single perspective. If you notice, our broadcast media comes up with only a single perspective on everything, which then goes and harms, because inevitably, and again, as I said, today the local, it's not here and there, it's everywhere. So the Indians throughout the world are connected through an identity, and not just the identity, through various things out here. All of them may not feel that sense of nationality or Indianness. Some are just doing business. How they will work, how will that businesses work? Those debates are typically either scholarly or needs to be done in the media, because the whole situation has changed and is changing very fast. How do we study or classify Jain's culture as it seemingly changes almost every? Aisha, it's that is where these studies are happening. Various studies keep happening parallelly. Also, the fact is, if you see news stories as to how they work out, you're right. A large part, and again, a large part may not interest you. Say, for example, when I would talk about TikTok, when TikTok was there in the country, and I would talk about TikTok in my classes, a whole lot of students, urban middle class students, would say they are very cringeworthy. I said they might be, but you get a sense of how the youngsters are moving in the country in terms of aspirations, in terms of connectivity, how our culture. See, unless you are able to figure out what is happening, how do you make decision making? Say, for example, the other day I was in a class, and Kanga, this might interest you, but we in the class we were talking about social media and national security. And I said, is there a study which has been done which says that it affects this way or affects that way? In the absence of a study, how do I know what is working, what is not working, where is it going, where is it not going? Unfortunately, we seem to be going more like, I think that is the case, and so that is the case. Say, for example, internet today is a public good. Examinations are happening on internet, income taxes are submitted on internet, money is being withdrawn on internet, economic transactions are happening on internet, and then willy-nilly some bureaucrat stops the internet. How does it affect the general population? What happens if there is an illness or if there is a delivery to be happened? How does this whole thing happen? There is no study. So we are taking political positions about right and wrong without actually having any data to back our claim. It's more ideological and political rather than any data. And we keep talking about the fact data is the new oil, but where is the data? Where is the study? So very important that these studies are done. How is the diaspora affecting? How much investment are they doing? What are the reasons they invest? Obviously, we know they do investment because of identity, because of that sentimentality towards it. But are they investing? Are they not investing? Why are they investing? What are the harms? We are, we still are short in terms of data and study.
So to follow up, like remarks, first,
Yeah.
when you talk about like not even being aware, like not being on these platforms, for
Yeah.
example, therefore
Yeah.
not even being aware of,
Hmm.
what's happening, what's
Hmm.
trending.
Hmm.
So, but because of algorithms, every person's social media experience is different.
Absolutely.
So, for example, if like sometimes I meet my friends and they talk about a trending song and they're like,
Huh.
"Wait, have you not heard that? Like, it's so
Huh.
popular." And I say,
Huh.
"No,
Huh.
like I
Huh.
haven't,"
Huh.
because my algorithm shows me completely different
Correct.
kind of post,
Correct.
and
Correct.
their algorithm shows them completely different.
Correct.
So even if I am on the same social media app, I wouldn't have the same experience, and I
True.
wouldn't even know like
True.
how popular something is.
True.
And secondly, the like if we try to analyze data, like actual statistical data from these social media websites, then the thing is that it can easily be manipulated. For
Yeah.
example, there are all these tweet storms, they're called, I think,
True.
or maybe there's
True.
a new word for it, I don't know. But like,
True.
there are all these, like, for example, political groups, right? So they send a message saying, at this time,
Correct.
on this day, everybody will flood social media with like this
Correct.
hashtag,
Correct.
right? And then, you get, when you open Twitter, for example, on your main page, you see like top
True.
five trends.
True. True.
And, the first one is the political one.
True.
So you think that, it's trending and everybody's
True.
talking about it, but
True.
actually it's just a bunch of bot
True.
accounts,
True.
just hashtagging, retweeting. So I think it becomes difficult to analyze
Correct.
what actually
Correct.
is a trend and for whom it's a trend,
Correct. Correct.
and the
Aisha,
importance of
you're
it.
absolutely right. However, that's where, A, we do not need to engage with social media in terms of a FOMO approach, fear of missing out. No, that's not the way it goes. A, if you are a researcher and you're doing a particular research, then there are ways of filtering out all these things. B, as an individual, if you're looking at it, then you cross-check it with other places. And as you rightly said, you already know that these are being Twitter storms or something like that. You already know. So it's
Yeah,
it's
I only
it's
know of some, but maybe there are others that I never
perfectly
knew
fine.
that they were
Perfectly,
actually.
perfectly fine. See, again, the fact is the new competency in the new world is A, you cannot engage with everything unless you are specifically studying that. And B, if you start doing that, then you will only be chasing your tail. So there are new competencies which have to come in. Again, as I said, I look at it in terms of looking at new perspectives. Not, that's it. That's it. Period. What is the new perspective? Is there a new perspective? How is this new perspective coming? What started this new perspective? So, for example, as I said, I've been seeing this moi moi, reels since some time. It was coming on various timelines, and I was seeing it. I didn't bother. I said, "Hoga kahin." I thought there might be a song. It was just that then I came across, I said, let me just see what is it about. Then I went back. There was a story, not in an Indian newspaper, but in a foreign one of those magazines where they said this is how it came about. Then I actually went and saw the video, the reel. I saw the original song and I said, oh, but that's how the cultures are being exchanged. Aisha?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. We are already on time and I am feeling miserable because, as I told,
Sir,
yeah, sorry, Praful, tell me.
sir, I have one question, sir.
Please, please,
Sir,
please.
sir, there is a great effect of social media and globalization, sir. But China is its own social media. Sir,
Hmm.
tell me how it affects globalization.
So, Praful, remember, China is not a democracy, it's a single party system. So what they want to do is they want to make sure that all people, see again, also understand with a single party system, if there are multiple cultural constructs or multiple information or messages which go around, there is always a possibility of disquiet in the society or the society demanding a change. So to control that particular society, they have pushed only a single, they say that, see, they are also, there is this active political thing going on between America and China. So they do not want those ideas and those influences to come. However, if you look at this, China today, in spite of the Communist Party of China, seems to have taken a neoliberal approach or a new capitalist approach. So they are talking about capitalism, and yet they say use our social media platform. No other social media platform will work. There is something called a Great Firewall in China, where messages are all filtered out. Anything against the regime is filtered out, is cut. And yet, Praful, we have seen COVID when happened, they tried to censor a lot, and yet the messages came out. So, Praful, also you need to understand that human being is a social animal. Except for North Korea, which has totally clamped down. And yet we get some information from various sources on North Korea, even China, as soon as they have some sort of a neo-capitalist approach, or some sort of a neoliberal neo-capitalist approach, information comes out. And yet they try, and but again it has to do with between a single party and a democracy. Democracy brings an additional set of factors, which is in some ways good, some ways bad. So that is, see, each thing has its own. Sir, you using only Telegram, not a WhatsApp. Yes, that's right, Swadesh. I don't use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a very insecure messaging app. They share data with Facebook. There are a whole lot of consideration on WhatsApp. So I just, and then it is today, WhatsApp is a very time consuming and a distracting platform, because any person or every person will come and give you thousands of messages, make you put in thousands of groups. I don't have the time to waste seeing needless message. So I am not of technology. I am not of messaging app platforms. I am on Telegram and Signal both. And if somebody needs to contact me, you can contact me on email, or you can call me or SMS me. The WhatsApp has given me a lot of peace of mind in terms of no good morning, no religious message, no political message. I am I'm kind of in a Zen state. Swadesh?
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Who's that?
Hello.
Yes,
It's
Kalpana. Hi,
Kalpana, sir. Can you hear me?
hi. Yeah. Kalpana, tell me,
Sir, I have a little query. Like,
please.
what so far what I've understood is like whatever is the part of pop culture, because it has already been accepted by the mass. That's where we are surrounded by such kind of things. Like, it is not necessary that we should like it or not, but it's the part of the culture, and it's going to be like that only. It's all
Hmm,
about the perspective, not
hmm,
right or wrong. But
correct.
being a student of this migration and diaspora and all, I want to understand what is the role of our learning. Like, we just need to understand the fact, or is there any solution regarding this?
Uh,
Or even if it is not a problem at all, I
okay.
mean, it's like that only.
Right. Kalpana, as a
Yes.
student, we are typically not looking at problems and solutions, or we could be looking at problems, and we could be looking at perspective solutions. You are not here to solve things. You cannot solve them also. You're looking at various problems, or you're looking at various perspectives, and looking as I've been saying this right from the first day I took the first unit. Academics and scholarship is not about right and wrong, correct and incorrect. It's about perspectives. What academics does is to give you alternate perspectives. Sometimes, as I said, most of us are limited by our knowledge and our human or physical limitations. And when I say, for example, when I talk to you, say, for example, when I talk to each one of you is able to give a different perspective based on questions, based on statements. And then we say, oh, I never thought about it like this. So academics is more about perspectives. Everything does not need to be engaged with, especially in media, in communication. And again, as I said, every time in academics also, whenever you look at a concept or a definition, you need to figure out who has given that definition and in what context. The context becomes very important. Kalpana?
Yeah, sir. Today, everything, there is no privacy protection, I think. Recently, I visited UAE.
Okay.
They in that airport, they give in one free SIM card.
Okay.
That means our passport and everything linked in that there in UAE.
Okay.
Now I came back to UAE. Now
Huh.
they calling real estate people, Damag company.
Huh.
They're asking buy a plot.
No, I was see the digital media is leads to a lot of convergence. What we in a way we talk about globalization. Globalization is a lot of interconnected and convergence. So that
Yes,
is the
sir.
nature of the technology.
Yeah, sir. It's a
So
coming days, it's a
huh.
big problem also, sir.
So
Some
again,
army people they share internal security things to someone. The lady, it is like honey trap.
correct,
Everything
correct.
happen.
So this you have also to understand this always used to be there, but now in a hyper connected, hyper drive world, things happen very fast. See, as I said, global, commerce or international trade used to happen previously also, but it was slow. You had to go in a ship, you had to go and exchange. Today, things are transferred in a plane, 9 hours to UK, 11 hours or 14 hours to US. Everything is on a hyperdrive.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kanga, thank you for telling me that National Security Strategic Conference. Thank you very much for telling me that. And you have a nice weekend and have a nice week. And I'll see you next Saturday with Unit 3. Yeah. Bye bye then.